how your host doing? I think we will continue to have our breakfast, but I would request that for a moment we be standing for a word of prayer.
Our God in heaven, we want to thank you this morning for the wonderful day that you've given us. Thank you for each one of us, and thank you for the gift of life. We want to thank you, Lord, for good health, and we want to thank you for the prosperity of our nation. We're here today, Lord, to thank you and to deliberate on issues concerning KenGen's investment, because Heavenly Father, you've given us the mandate to supply electrical energy to this country for development. We want to ask you, dear Lord, that today you will be amongst us and that you will give us divine grace. We want to thank you for our investors, our development partners. We want to thank you indeed for all those people who put hands together so that that which KenGen does can be done. Thank you for our nation. We again commend it in your hands and ask that you continue to give us your speed and continue to cause projects in this country to prosper and investors to enjoy a good environment and the population of this country to grow. We thank you, dear Father, because of all the things that you've done for us and what you're doing now and what you will do. We all pray this in your holy name.
The day today is going to be fairly straightforward. We'll have the main presentation from our MD and CEO, and then thereafter we'll invite all of you to make remarks and also have any questions that you may have that we'll attempt to answer all of them. As you all know, KenGen is always making history, and that history trend continues even today. I think most of you already know that this is the first time in about 10 years that the company is not paying a dividend. And I think that is news that people already know out there. But again, today we will tell you exactly why that makes business sense. Because we have always aspired to ensure that everything we do is good for business and then also good for this nation. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to just recognize some of our key stakeholders who are here with us. And I would like to, first of all, mention Her Excellency Roxanne de Buldeling. That is the Belgian ambassador to Kenya. Thank you for having you. We also have none other than from FIDE Investment Bank, that is Bob Karina. Thank you for coming. And also among us, ladies and gentlemen, we have our former CEO who was also the chairman of the NSC, Mr. Eddie Jorogen. Thank you for having him. And of course, among us, also next to Eddie Jorogen, we have our very own Ali Kansachu. Thank you for having us. And then from the banks, there are a number of banks who've been here today, and I must thank you for coming. Most of them here to represent their CEOs. From Barclays Bank, we have James Agin. Thank you. And we have Peter Madenge from Standard Chartered. Thank you. And from CBA, the Commercial Bank of Africa, we have Peter Kigura. Thank you. And we have a number of people from the NIC. From Citibank, we have Peter Kariuki. Thank you for coming. We have Lydia Rono from the Cooperative Bank. Thank you for coming. And from CFC Stanbic, again, we have a number of people. We have Jonathan Mukia, Florence Wanja. Thank you for coming. Asante sana. And we have also a team from the AIB Capital, led by Paul Mwai. Thank you for coming. And then from AFD, we also have Arthur Honore. Thank you for coming. And I know we also have other FDIs like DFIs like KFW. KFW was here. I think he was the first person in the room. Thank you for coming. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to observe a moment silence. All of you remember what happened yesterday in the northern part of Kenya, particularly Mandera. A number of Kenyans lost their life as a result of a terrorist act. And I'll just ask all of us to observe a moment's silence. May their soul rest in peace. And now I want to officially welcome you to KenGen. We're no longer at Kempiski. I know this is one of the high-flying hotels in the country, and most of us always just wish we could be here. And thanks to KenGen, we are here today. So this year has been a great one for us as KenGen. We've won a number of awards thanks to the work we've been doing in the past 1 year. Notably, KenGen, our flagship project, the 280 All-Carrier, won the Innovative Energy Project of the Year award. That was at the World Engineering Congress in Washington, D.C. That was just recently in September. And I think that's a big one for KenGen, and we deserve a round of applause. I'm sorry for taking your hands off your utensils, but I think I'll do that a number of times until we get this message down. Secondly, also, KenGen won the Clean Energy Project of the Year, again for the 280. This was during the Africa Power Utility, also again in South Africa. A round of applause for us. And at the same time, the company also won the Outstanding Clean Power Award and Excellence in Power Generation category, again at the East African Power Utility Awards. So really, this has been quite an exciting time for us, and as a company, we are humbled, first of all, for the support that we receive from you people, our key stakeholders, our investors, and you're really, the people whom we invited here today were not just like by chance. We carefully selected those of you who are here, and the intention was that once this message is out here, then you people are always able to disperse it there. So we really appreciate you being there, and we look forward to a continued cooperation. I was just waiting for our CEO, and he's in. He's the one coming next to speak. But before I can invite him on stage, dear brothers and sisters, KenGen on its own won quite a number of awards, and you've heard that. But the man at the helm of this company, our number one captain, has had a number of accolades over the years since we last met last year. And before I call him on stage, I would just want to go over some of this so that we can do a little bit of catching up before you last saw him. Albert was named, he got the Presidential Award, Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear. That was in 2015. And a round of applause for him. At the same time, he was named the Power Utility Executive of the Year 2016 at the Africa Utility Award. And most recently, in Washington, D.C., at the same event where KenGen won for the 280. Ladies and gentlemen, I would want now to welcome on stage the Energy Manager of the Year, Albert Mugo. Karibu.
I like to maintain a low key, so when he starts by saying the man and all that, it's a little difficult for me. But I want to thank you very much, and I'm so glad to see all of you here joining us this morning in this good place, and I hope you're enjoying your breakfast. It's set, and feel free anytime to get up and pick what you may want. You are our guests today, and we want you to be happy for the time that we're going to be here together. And it's always a joy to meet with people that support KenGen in many different ways. Some of you are financing our projects in terms of giving us loans. Some of you are financing us by putting equity into the company, and some of you are supporting us in many different ways. And it's always a joy, therefore, when we get to this time of the year, when we release our results, to call you and come and be with us so that we can explain the one page that you see in the newspapers may be a bit confusing. But when we meet here so that we make a presentation to you, we interact over questions and answers, then I think it really helps you to to understand the company that you have invested in. It makes you, for those of you also who advise others who are investing in KenGen, it puts you in that position where you can talk confidently to issues that people may ask about KenGen. And so that's why we've called you here this morning, and we are grateful that you came, as Frank said, at a very short notice. So please feel free. And around the tables, you probably have some KenGen people in the table where you are sitting if you do not belong to KenGen. And please ask questions of them and interact with them because they understand these things that we're discussing. So I'll just straight away go to my presentation. We'll try to be as brief as we can so that we release you to go to your other duties. So this morning, we have here on this first slide, I'm just showing you, of course, what you already know on the upper part there. And I'll not dwell much into it, the macroeconomics facts. And I'll just start by giving you the electricity statistics, where currently the installed capacity for the nation is about 2,361 megawatts. And the annual energy consumption as of June 2016, is it consumption or generation? Okay, exactly what was generated was about 9,737 gigawatt hours. And we understand from the Ministry of Energy that the access rate today overall in Kenya is about 55%. That means that about 55% of the population has electricity today. On the graph on your left, we then see what the installed capacity is sort of looking like. So when you look at 2016, where we are, we're at about 2,350, the number that I've just given. And to put that in context, the recorded demand this far, as of June 2016, was at about 1,620. So now the difference between the installed capacity and the demand gives room for the maintenance of power plants and for any breakdown that may occur in some of the power plants, so you have enough capacity to meet the demand. The Ministry of Energy has delegated to the Energy Regulatory Commission the work of preparing what you call the least cost power development plan. So the source of the data that we've shown here on the demand is from the Energy Regulatory Commission that works with the sector entities to prepare what you call the least cost power development plan, the LCPD. And it shows that, as you can see from that graph, initially it's climbing, the capacity is not rising as much, but in the later years, particularly from 2026, it climbs rather steeply, so that the expected capacity in 2033 could be as much as 21,000. Of course, as you see, this is something that is done regularly, and that is why from time to time when we meet with you, this figure is not constant. It keeps being revised so that just in case you ask, there are times you showed 17,000, there's another time you showed a different figure, but that's because we revise it depending on the situation that is there. Now, on the right is very interesting figures here from the Kenya Power Lighting Company that shows how the increased urbanization and industrial growth is affecting the demand, or it's expected to affect the demand, because in 2009, the number of customers connected, or the meters, the people that were connected to electricity, were about 1.27 million. In 2012, that number had risen to about 2 million. But you can see that as of June 2016, that number had gone close to 5 million. Quite a steep rise. that is the work Kenya Power Lighting are doing, because so many people do not have electricity, and it's in consuming electricity that then we can build the economy, and we are also able to consume this power that is being installed by KenGen and the others. So that's just an indicator of the fact that there's a lot that's happening in the energy sector. And so even as we talk about the demand that we say we are building, we can see that in future, because people are being connected, and so you may understand there's always some lag between the build-up of demand and this connection. So when people are connected, initially they didn't have electricity, probably they just had a few things, but as electricity is now in their homes or in their premises, they start to do more things, and we expect to see a bigger rise in demand as more people are connected. An overview of KenGen, and Frank mentioned about this, that a congress that we attended of Association of Energy Engineers, where including the Okaria Power Project that was recognized as an innovative energy project of the year in the sub-Saharan region, and it's actually a project that's received a lot of awards in the recent past, and we are quite happy about that. Now, looking at KenGen, our strengths and how we leverage on this in terms of the future for Kenya. Number one, we've planned new capacity in the next 4 years, so that today we are at 1653, about 1624, and we expect that in the next 4 to 5 years, we should be having a capacity as KenGen now of about 2,300 megawatts. So that's close to where the country is today, to meet with the demand that I've just shown in the previous. Currently, at 1,623 megawatts, the market share on the installed capacity is about 69%, just about 70%. Of course, we are the largest geothermal power producer in Africa and 7th in the world. And I think looking at the program that we have and the projects that are online, that's a position we are not going to be for a long time. Very soon, you'll be seeing us maybe being number 5 or number 4 in terms of, leading in terms of geothermal production. And we have 20 major power plants. But the important thing also here to mention is that a lot of our energy comes from the green sources. Green, renewable sources that we expect will keep replenishing themselves. This is hydro, this is geothermal, this is wind, and I keep being asked the question about solar, and I say, okay, we don't have it at the moment, but we have advanced quite a bit on that, and currently we've just signed an agreement with the US TDA. Their financing has given us a grant of about $1 million US, and we'll be doing a pilot study to see whether we can bring in solar not too far from Nairobi near our hydro station. So that's another source that in the future you'll soon start to see in our mix. And number 5, you will see that we have increased our revenues substantially by actually 29% this year, and I'll be showing you the figures as we move on. And we also want to focus on our stakeholders because they're important. We understand that if we put our minds away from the stakeholders, then we are not in business. So it's not just about the KenGen itself as a company, but it's about the people that we work with. It's the people who have given the trust and the faith, who put their faith in us, and we want to be able to work with them. So as we increase the capacity, as I said, between now and the next 4 to 5 years, the capacity will increase by about 720 megawatts, and we intend to continue as the main player in this sector in Kenya. We also want to create value for our shareholders, and we've shown a return there of about 17.86%, and that is what we work on when we're preparing the PPAs, the power purchase agreement, because we look at what the cost of the project is, the expected return on equity, and that's about the level where we are. But at the same time, as you know, we are Kenyan, and we are here for the long haul, and we understand that it is important to not only provide sufficient electricity for this nation, but also for that to be provided at the least cost way possible. So we have an aim of being profitable and still be able to supply cheaper renewable energy in the country. And you find that the projects that we prepare, and the way we prepare our tender documents, and because all our projects are done on a competitive basis, we're able to get competitive bids. And if we get competitive bids, then that translates to lower tariffs for this nation. And these figures here indicate part of what I've discussed, but I think very important for you to see the mix that we have. The hydro, rather, on a market basis, 1623, the IPPs, or the private power producers, are at 738, which is that 1%. But the chart below, and that's important, is to show that in terms of then what goes into the grid, even though what is installed, we are at 69%, because of the type of generation source that we have, which runs all the time, the production, KenGen is producing 80% of what the country is consuming. So you have what is installed and you have what is produced. So it's like, if you wish, our fleet is more economic to run. So like geothermal runs 24 hours. The hydros, like this last year, we had very good rains, so it was running all the time. So when you look at the production in the country, we contributed 80% of the electricity that was consumed. But in terms of the overall KenGen, we have put the figures there. Sometimes people ask these questions. So we have shown that geothermal, currently, we have 524 megawatts, which is produced, which is about 33%. The hydro is at 820, and that number has been constant for quite a bit of time because we've developed most of our economic hydros a while back. So the remaining ones may take a bit of time because they are competing with the other cheaper sources like geothermal. Wind, we have 26 megawatts installed at the Gong Hills. It is still the only wind project that's connected to the grid. It's about 2%. And then we have thermal at 253 megawatts, which is 15%. So that is the total mix that KenGen has on the generation. And then here we are showing how the geothermal is driving the capacity and sales growth. And on the left, we are just showing how it's grown over the years from 2014, when we had 1,343 megawatts. And you can see the composition. The hydro, as I see, has remained at 820, even in 2015, 2016. The geothermal was then 256 in 2014, but you can see that number has actually more than doubled to 524 in 2016. And then on the right, we are showing the production in terms of what each of these sources has been able to provide. And again, as you can see, in 2014, geothermal was generating only about 1,294 gigawatt hours. But by 2016, you can see the figure has dramatically gone up. The hydro, sort of constant, but affected by the weather. That is why in 2015, you can see the hydros generated just about 3,300 a day, compared to the year before when it was 39, and this year when we had 37. And so you can see that geothermal really is going to be very key, because as we move on, it will be generating a lot more. And as I come to an end, so that I can invite our finance and ICT director to take you through the details of the financials, let me give a summary here very quickly. You can see that this year, our revenue was 38.6 billion. Compare that with last year when we were at 29.9, just about 30. That's an increase of 29%. Now, we've broken it down there to make it easy for you, because our revenue, we get it in terms of the capacity payment or capacity revenue, which is what we are paid for making our power plant available. Just by making it available, so that Kenya Power Lighting can use it